Well, a very good morning. 8 o'clock on the dot. Welcome. On behalf of Comeback Yoga, my name is Eric. I'll be your yoga guide today. And we're working here for Comeback Yoga. And Comeback Yoga is a tremendous organization. It's a nonprofit organization that runs programs from Fort Collins all the way down to Colorado Springs and everything in between. And they run yoga classes that are free to veterans and their families. We would love for you to come and visit our site and find a class in your neighborhood and at the time that is most convenient for you. If you have the ability to donate, we could sure use your support and donations to keep growing and offering these classes and these trainings for veterans and their families on how to deal with stress. How does this nervous system work? Well, it just happens to be that this nervous system has an extraordinary, a miraculous way of healing itself. And this practice is all about accessing those aspects of the nervous system. So let's go ahead and begin. All right, we're going to be looking at unlocking the lower body today. Very important part. This is actually the center of gravity of the human organism. And so we want to systematically start relaxing the nervous system. So we're going to get right into it, and I call it the Hindi squat. The Hindi squat. So go ahead and take a wide step out. You can use your blocks for support if you'd like, but you want to take a nice big wide step out and just start letting the tailbone drop. And as we're sitting here, I'm going to offer you some principles that I like to guide through. Okay. The first principle is to breathe in a way that there is no pausing in the breath cycle. No pausing in the breath cycle. Smooth inhales and smooth exhales. And when the breath is transitioning from inhale to exhale and exhale to inhale, there is no pausing in the breath cycle. Now, this is no magic breath. This actually just happens to be your most natural breath, the most natural breath for any animal. All right. No pausing in the breath cycle. The next principle that I'd like for you to consider, and I will keep cueing throughout the next 20 minutes or so, is finding the sweet spot. So you can notice just sitting here in your posture and following along that you want to find the sweet spot where there's a nice balance between tension and relaxation, engagement, but releasing. There's this ease into the stretch. It should feel good. You're engaged, but relaxed. There's no fighting it, there's no forcing it, whatever the pose is or the exercise. So you're just always finding the sweet spot. You should feel engaged and invigorated within the posture. Okay. And so you'll hear me say finding the sweet spot. And then the third element that I will offer into the cues is to find any opportunity for the body, anywhere on the body, any muscle to relax. You might find some type of relaxation or big organic breaths. You might find this like nice little big organic breath that just comes out of nowhere. So we're looking for those opportunities. And then the third one is to allow for any opportunities of relaxing the mind, where the mind just becomes very still and you're very present. All right, I'll keep cueing that. All right, so looking for any opportunities for relaxing, for any organic breaths, or for any relaxation of the mind. All right, and then let's go ahead and come out of this, and we'll just gracefully come to seat on the mat, and then we'll do this a lot, but we'll just straighten out your legs and then give it a good little pop like that. Okay, you see how I'm just tapping the legs on the floor. That gets that blood and that lymph going. All right. Okay. And there we go. All right. And then the next exercise, let's open up the hips a little bit. Okay. So what we're going to do is just sitting here, and you can take your feet about hips width distance apart, and then you're just going to rotate them over to your left. So just rotate them over to your left. And then we want to get a little twist in here. So take your right hand and then put it on your tailbone, and then the left hand, and then up and over, and up and over. And then breathing, no pausing in the breath cycle. Look for any opportunities, find the sweet spot in the twist, looking up and over. All right, and I just had a nice big organic breath, so I'm going to release that. And then a little bit of a counter twist the opposite way. And then come back to center, and then we'll switch it up. Switch it up. Sitting straight up, and then that left hand to the tailbone, and then up and over the other way. And then breathing, no pausing in the breath cycle. Okay. All right, wonderful. And then we're going to take our legs and we're going to go back and forth a few times. This is going to really help the hips open up. Now, as we do these exercises, you'll notice that I'm kind of doing the same things every week. I'll give a little twists and nuances in there during each week, but for the most part, I like routine. And that is because it's the consistency of the routine that allow for the fruits to come about. So this is great for opening up those hips. We want to find more free range of motion within the hips. All right. And then we'll do one more. And then we'll go ahead and lay it out, lay out those feet, and go ahead and give it a shake. A tap, tap, tap. That tapotement on the floor with the legs gets that lymph and that blood flowing, moving, allowing that fascia to relax. Okay, here we go. Coming into the next one is the quintessential butterfly stretch. Back in grammar school, bringing the bottoms of the feet together. And then at first, just go ahead and lean back. Just lean back and have a nice stretch. No pressure. And then just find a little movement where the knees are just opening and closing a little bit. Yeah. And then look for, now you should not force anything. It should, your nervous system will know exactly the intensity that it needs to just start letting those inner adductors to release and relax. All right, and then let's go ahead and re-engage, and we'll come back sitting straight up, and then we'll offer a little bit more pressure, and don't force anything. You find your comfort zone, okay? I'm 51, so I can only do so much, and even though I work on this every day, but it sure does help me. I can feel it throughout the day. So let's go ahead and take our hands, bring it to our feet, and then start leveraging our sternum towards the feet, and breathe. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot, and then allow the feet to open and close, that little flutter. That's it. It should feel good. We're looking for sensations of Pleasant. We're looking for pleasant sensations. Pleasant sensations. And just breathe. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot, and then look for any opportunities for relaxation, for any big organic breaths, or relaxation of the mind. And release. And then go ahead and do that little back and forth, feet about with distance apart, and then back and forth, back and forth. That's it. All right. There we go. And then go ahead and shake it out. And shake it out. All right, we'll come into figure 4 now. Okay, figure 4. Go ahead and lay on your back. And then your right ankle will come to the left knee. And we'll do pigeon after this, but I realize that most folks really need this. Just the figure 4. And then you can take your hand and help increase the intensity of that stretch in the hip. And if that's not enough, you can reach through and grab your hamstring. Now you just go ahead and find the level that feels great, best for you. Start opening up that hip, and then just continue to breathe in such a way that there is no pausing in the breath cycle. And I find a lot of folks find themselves pausing at the bottom of the exhale. So that's okay. We're retraining our breathing habits. And so whenever you notice that little pause where you're pausing in the breath cycle, either on the top or in the bottom, working through that transition from exhale to inhale or inhale to exhale. No pausing in the breath cycle. Smooth transitions. And then go ahead and switch it up. Now the left ankle over the right. And breathing. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find any pleasant sensations within the stretch. All right. You want to find that sweet spot of intensity. And then look for any opportunities to relax. Like I just noticed my lower back just relaxed. All right. Or any organic breaths when you just kind of take that nice big giant organic breath. It increases out of nowhere. That's a sign that the nervous system is relaxing. And any relaxation of the mind. Very present. And then shake that out. And then go ahead and you're going to bring yourself up to a seat. We're going to flip it over to pigeon. So a good place for pigeon to come into pigeon is downward facing dog. All right, downward facing dog. And then exhale everything out, lifting up that right leg and right knee to the right wrist for pigeon. And now this is getting that hip, the deep 6. All right. And breathe, no pausing in the breath cycle. And you can use your blocks too. You can use your blocks to support yourself. I'm going to support myself because I got my mic on. But even stretching to the hip, you want to find yourself breathing where there's no pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot. It should feel good. All right. And then look for any opportunities to relax. Any opportunities for a big organic breath, or where the mind just relaxes. So crystal clarity, presence, here, now. Enjoy. And then start coming on up. And then kick that right out. Downward facing dog. And then exhale, lifting up that left leg, left knee, left wrist on the other side. And then drop down and balance it out. And breathe. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot. And then look for any opportunities for any part of the body to relax. Any big organic breaths. And then any opportunities for the mind to relax. And that's about the same amount of time. Start coming on up. And then downward facing dog. And shake it out. Downward facing. And then we'll come into child's pose. So knees are wide. Feet, toes are together. Knees are wide. And then if you need to crumble up or bunch up the towel to give a little support on the knees, you can do that. But coming into child's pose, we want to start bringing that torso down to the mat and support yourself so that you can find that sweet spot. All right. Now I'm going to support myself because I have. But any way that you can just find some nice, easy, smooth breaths, and then find the sweet spot where it feels good to drop down into those hips. All right, this is the center of gravity of the body. And breathe. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot. Look for any opportunities to relax. Big organic breaths. Or relaxation of the mind. Notice that relaxed attentiveness. And then start coming on up. And then go ahead and sit back down on the mat. The legs. Give it a little shake. And then come back into this shifting of the hips, going back and forth. Okay. And then shake it out, balance it out in the legs. There you go. All right, let's get these quads and let's get the psoas and the hamstrings. Okay. So if you got balance on, you can balance on it. We'll do a little PNF stretching. So just go ahead and follow my cues as far as tensing and relaxing. But we'll start with that right. Put your right foot up. And we're going to start with the right hamstring. Okay, so however you can support yourself, we're going to drop back so that we can have some tension on that hamstring, pulling the toes to the nose. All right, you want to engage that quadricep and press into that hamstring for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 7 seconds, and then you release. Give a little space, and then come back into that stretch into the hamstring. So pressing into that hamstring for 7. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot. It's good. And any opportunities to find a little bit more relaxation and space in that hamstring, and then relax. And then one more time. Go ahead, pulling the toes to the nose, pressing into that hamstring. Have a nice stretch. And then allowing that hamstring to relax into that open space, that fascia relaxing, and then relax. All right. And you can even give a little pat on that hamstring if you want. That feels good. Okay. And now coming in, and we're just going to come into the left hip now. Now we're going to, this is psoas. All right. And then we're going to press for 7, 6. No pausing in the breath cycle. Find the sweet spot and find any opportunities to relax, big organic breaths or relaxation. Mind, present, mind, relax. And then one more time, pressing into that left hip flexor, psoas. And there's a big organic breath. And so we'll release that. And then switch it up. Left foot down. And then the hamstring. Pulling the toes to the nose, pressing into the hamstring for 7, 6. Toes, and then just find the sweet spot. No pausing in the breath cycle. Look for any space in that hamstring or big organic breaths, and relax. And then go ahead and press. And then relax. And then one more time. Pressing into that hamstring, engaging it, but not so much that it hurts, but not forcing it, but just finding a sweet spot where it feels real good. And then allow for any extra little space to just open up in that hamstring and then relax. And you can give a little pat. All right. And then coming into the other way. Now coming into that right hip flexor for 7, 6, 5. And relax. And then go ahead and press into it again. 7, 2, 1, and find the sweet spot and relax. And then one more. Go ahead, press into there for 7 seconds. Find the sweet spot. And breathe and release. And then come into seat. We'll come into seat for the last minute or so. Okay, we have just systematically opened up the lower body. All right. Now we got a couple of minutes here, so let's go ahead and bring the whole practice, the last 23 minutes, into the rest of the day. All right. So the first is grounded and centered. So tailbone just allows to be drawn into the mat, and then you can feel that energy go right up your spine to the top of your head. That's your center of gravity. Recognize that relaxed attentiveness. Don't particularly pay attention to anything. Just let your relaxed attentiveness just be open and wide. Anything that comes up is perfect. It's all included. And then recognize your body breathing without pausing the cycle. Foster this habit of no pausing in the breath cycle. Breath. It's your most natural breath. No pausing in the breath cycle. Always find the sweet spot, the grace in everything that you're doing. And then always look for opportunities to relax. Have a big organic breath. Or clarity of mind. A relaxation of the mind. Present, here, now, aware. Just be. Just being. No mind. Content. I want to thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me today. From one veteran to another, and all those that care for us, love us, and support us. Have an amazing day. Namaste.